Good evening. My name is Dr. Naa-Solo Tettey. I am the creator and director of the HeartSmarts program. Welcome to our final session for 2023. And so, as we always do at the beginning of all of our programs, I'm going to ask you all to share in the chat how you're doing today, how's your day going, but I'm also going to ask you to share how did your year go? Not just any part of your year, but how did your year go health-wise? So you can share anything you want in the chat, how you're doing today, how'd your year go, or anything you want to share with us at all. And if you've never written in the chat anytime I've asked this for the last 12 months, let today be the day that you write something. You can even just write hello. And so we're going to get started. I have a quick overview to share. Welcome to those of you who are new to the HeartSmarts program, new to the HeartSmarts community, and are joining today because of our special guest. And welcome to all of you who are in the HeartSmarts program. I wanted to share with you just an overview of all of the amazing things that we've done this year and why our guest tonight is so important to us. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. All right, so as you all know, we have our special guest tonight, Doug Evans, who is HeartSmart's favorite person this year and changed all of our lives through the Sprout book, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I want you all to think back to January when we started for the 2023 HeartSmart season. And many of you, oftentimes when we make so many amazing accomplishments throughout the year, we forget about the things that we've done. And so I'm going to go through this really quickly so we can see everything that we've done this year. So we started off the year with the Jump into January challenge. You all remember that, the Ultimate Champion Challenge. We had our 10,000 steps. We read Eat to Live, Fiber Fueled. Some of you did the Sugar Detox. And we all prepared for February Heart Month. February Heart Month 2023 was amazing. I think it's the best we've had so far. We had Dr. Ravella, we had Chef Babette, we had Dr. Baptiste, we had Dr. Coca Ross, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Krieger, and our favorite, if you all remember, for February Heart Month was Dr. Milton Mills. We also read A Silent Fire by Shilpa Ravella about inflammation, and that was awesome as well. We moved into Women's History Month. We had the Battle of the Ambassadors. We also had another speaker series. We had Coach Jamar join us, as well as plant-based cooking for beginners with Chef Brandy, Chef Carol. We also had Dr. Ruby Lathan join us and Dr. Michelle Loy. We crowned our first HeartSmarts Queen, Queen Ambassador Cindy Mason, whose reign will be ending at the beginning of next year. And we also had our winners for the Strength of a Woman Challenge. And these are all of the amazing participants who were doing something between January, February, and March. And these are all the amazing pictures of you all. And then we moved into April and May. We did HeartSmarts Part 1, and we did the Spring into Summer Challenge. We did the Walk with a Doc with Dr. Loy and also Harlem Grown. We visited their site and learned about growing our own food. And then we had the life-changing moment when we read the Sprout book by Doug Evans, and that got us into the idea of learning about sprouts. And we were introduced to Rebecca Matzill and her awesome dad, Harley. And Rebecca actually was the person who asked me, would I want Doug to join our meeting? And he did briefly over the summer. And so you all read the book, you sprouted, and you can see all of your amazing pictures here. And what really warms my heart is that you all did this and you continue to sprout and you've continued to incorporate it in your life. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. In addition to that, we had the Food is Medicine series with all of these amazing guests that you all see on the screen here. And we went from that to our summer health fairs, which were very successful. We had our Healthy Hearts Nutrition Support Group, and then we did the summer Turn Up the Heat Challenge, and we met Coach Kiwi this year, and we had our amazing morning exercise classes. I think in total, we had about 800 exercise classes this year, if you guys can imagine that. And some of you did all of them. So really, really cool. And here are some pictures of you all doing your planks and lifting your weights and having your sprouts unleashed and having all your power and your energy from that. So it's just amazing. We had our in-person HeartSmarts classes. We see Sister Beverly here, Ambassador Jeanette Wells here as well. And then we moved into our fall programs, which were the Living Foods programs, which really brought everything together for us this year. These are the images of those of you who joined HeartSmarts, either during Part 1 or Part 2 in the fall. And then we had the raw food challenge, 30 days raw vegan challenge, and we read Raw Veganism and 12 Steps to Raw Foods. We welcome Chef Leanna Ropp for her 5-part series with us, and also Samantha Salmon joined us as well. And here are the pictures of all of us who did the 30 days amazing raw foods challenge, and continue to do our sprouts as well. We have an announcement this evening that we're not going to make yet, but we're going to be crowning our sprouting champion for 2023. And so people submitted nominations for themselves, and these are the 3 finalists on the screen: Ambassador Jeanette Wells, Yeka Carlisle, and Miss Andrea as well. So we will talk about that in a moment. And then finally, just want to highlight all of the amazing accomplishments that you all have had throughout the year in terms of your weight loss, your strength, your health improvements, getting off the medication, eating better, exercising more. So we have our Healthy Heart Champions, and these are based on people who sent me pictures of their results. So we have Miss Shirley, Miss Andrea, Miss Sonia, again, looking amazing. We have Miss Arlene, Miss Hollis, Miss Paulette, Miss Eugenia, Miss Yeka, also Miss Sharon. I think the person who has had the most amazing transformation of 2023 is Miss Gloria. And you all can see her with her sprouts here. She really, I don't know what happened. Maybe she'll tell us what happened to her this year. But it seemed like everything just clicked for her. And she is just glowing and shining and looking amazing. And so Miss Gloria is really our Healthy Heart Champion for 2023. And congratulations to her for all of the amazing changes that she's been able to make. And so we bring it back full circle to why we're here tonight. And so over the summer, we were able to read the Sprout book, as I stated, and Doug Evans met with us briefly, but in that short time that he stayed with us, he really shared some information and words with us that were really inspiring. He told us that every time we eat, we are making a life or death decision. He also shared a poem with us, Invictus, and really just gave us a sermon. And he preached about just how important it is for us to take care of ourselves and eat to live instead of living to eat. And so here again are all of our amazing sprouting images. I shared with you all last time that Doug was here this affirmation that I got from one of his podcasts that he did with someone else. And I'm going to read it again today because I really think for those of you who are new to Doug Evans, this will really give you an idea of what an amazing person he is. And so Doug said, and this is something he shares with his child as well, said, "I'll greet this day with love in my heart, and most of all, I will love myself, for when I do, I will zealously inspect all things that enter my body, my mind, my soul, and my heart. Never will I overindulge the request of my flesh. Rather, I'll cherish my body with cleanliness and moderation. Never will I allow my mind to be attracted to evil and despair. Rather, I will uplift it with the knowledge and wisdom of the ages." So we heard that in the summer, we internalized it, and we have been practicing it since then. And so just to give you all a brief introduction to Doug Evans, he's a serial health food entrepreneur who began sprouting over 25 years ago and has been advocating for and educating on the benefits of sprouts and sprouting. He is the author of the national bestseller, The Sprout Book, and the founder of the Sprouting Company, which you all will hear more about tonight. And so with everything that I just said, for the last time in 2023, or one of the last times, in 2023, I am going to ask you all to come off mute, and we are going to cheer for a couple of things. You're going to cheer for yourselves for all of the accomplishments and the amazing things that you've been able to do this year. We're also going to cheer because Doug Evans is with us, so your cheer is a welcome to him. So we're going to cheer for that as well. And you're also going to congratulate each other for all of the amazing things that you've done. But we know this is HeartSmarts, and so we can't just have a normal, regular cheer, right? So instead, we are going to sing our HeartSmarts theme song to get ready to have Doug in here. So I'm just going to put it on.
Ain't no stopping us now.
Congratulations,
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you. Hey.
Ain't no stopping us now. Yes.
Ain't no stopping us now.
We're on the move. Ain't no stopping us now. Exactly.
Come on, singer.
There's been so many things that's
All
held
right,
us
so
down.
you all, I had to prepare Doug and I had to ask him, does he dance? And he said, yes, I dance and I sprout. And so my sprouts even enhance my dancing. So you guys saw that awesome sprout dancing from Doug just now, which was amazing. Doug, welcome. Gonna unmute you. Welcome back to Heart Smarts. And I have to tell you guys, after that first meeting, Doug and I have been speaking often, and it's so awesome to be connected with an amazing person like him. And he is really on a mission to get everyone sprouting. And so that's why this meeting is so important, because in addition to the information that you all receive for yourselves, I want you to think about your communities, your churches, any associations that you have. And in January, we're going to do the 30-day sprouting challenge, and beyond. And so I want you all to think about, how can we help Doug on this mission to expand sprouting? For those of you, especially those who are the finalists for the Sprouting Champion, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you at the end of this meeting about your experience with sprouting, as we encourage others to do so as well. So I am going to get off the screen, and you all, if you have questions, you can also put them in the chat. So we'll have Doug first speak, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So welcome, Doug. You're on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tettey. I just want to say, Dr. Tettey, the work that you're doing and the love that you have for this community is just beyond. Like, you really bring tears to my eyes, because, you know, with your education and your compassion, you could be doing anything, and you're choosing to support this community and support me. It leaves me speechless. So I'm in deep gratitude for you, and thank you for inviting me. And this HeartSmart community and what you're doing, you are the future, you know, of health in the world today. Like, we are in a society where so much of our food systems are driven towards profit. You go into any supermarket, bodega, health food store, and 99% of the things that they are selling are dead. They're processed, there's additives, there's preservatives, there's genetic modification. And they're doing that because that's what's good for them on the profit side. And the artificial colorings and the flavors and the preservatives, you know, do not preserve our health, right? They compromise our health, and they cause our entire immune system, our digestive tract, our microbiome to work hard to fight for that. And so for me, I knew about sprouting for over 30 years, and I had been sprouting, but I always thought of sprouts as a garnish or as a side dish. I never took them seriously. It's almost like, you know, you may be attracted to a person and you don't take them seriously until they marry somebody else, right? Or they're dating somebody else. Then you're like, oh my God, that was a good egg. How did I blow that? I could have been there. And that's kind of how I felt about sprouts, until the universe put me in a situation of almost desperation. That, you know, I'm living in the desert, and there's no health food stores, no farmers markets, no supermarkets, no restaurants. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And I chose to be here because I wanted to commune with nature. I wanted to hear my own thoughts. And the desert, because it's a rough place to live, is very affordable to live, and you could have big open spaces. And I encourage you to all consider moving to the desert. That being said, not only was this a desert, this was a food desert. And a food desert, what I mean is no access to healthy food. And turns out in the United States, there are food deserts everywhere. And even in many neighborhoods, there are food deserts where you can only have fast food or bodegas or gas stations. and there's not access to high quality, healthy food. And being the blessing that, I think one of the greatest decisions of my life in 1999, I chose to become 100% plant-based, 100% vegan, and to eat raw living foods. And I made that choice, and I'm happy to explain why I made that choice, was because I saw the impact that the cooked food, the processed food, the meat, the dairy, the animal products had on my family. So my aunt became overweight, obese, diabetic, and then they had to do a double amputation on both of her feet below her ankles. And that mortified me because I couldn't even imagine not being able to walk. And then she died of complications with diabetes. And then my uncle died of heart disease. And my mother, who, God bless her, tried to eat healthy, tried to work out, but you don't need a lot of poison to kill you. And she ended up, we thought she had an ulcer. She went to the hospital. 3 months later, she died in the hospital, never came out. And then my father died of heart disease. And my brother, God bless him, he's still alive, but he is literally on his last leg. He's 59 years old. He's overweight, obese, has had 3 strokes and 2 heart attacks. And his last heart attack was Saturday night. So 2 nights ago, he had a heart attack and, he survived. But, the doctor said to me, we don't know how much long he'll live. And he's just addicted to the bad food. And no matter what I say to him, I cannot break through to him that the addictions are so strong and the demons are so big. Now, I'm aware of those demons. I have my own addictive personality, but I chose to choose good addictions and choose good habits and follow those good habits. So in April of 1999, I made the decision to go from eating anything to eating fresh, ripe, raw, organic fruits, vegetables, seaweeds, and sprouts. And that changed my whole life. Like, it just changed my whole life because now I became present to the fact that I had choices. And I became present to the fact that most people and most food items would not fit that criteria. So it lit me up to the fact of knowing that from this moment on, I am going to be an outsider of this community. Like, most of the world is going to be different than me, and I'm going to be comfortable, choosing my own path. And that means, potentially, unintentionally, but potentially making other people feel uncomfortable, because I'm going to make decisions that serve me, my family, my health. And that might, offend other people, but that's their responsibility. And what I mean by that is, if I go out to eat and there's nothing on the menu that suits me, I'll just sit there and I'll drink water, water with lemon, and not feel guilty. I will still leave a tip in the restaurant as if I ate a full meal, because I'm taking up the space and it's entertainment for me. So I honor that. So that act of abundance that I want to have. So, but I will not eat the food that doesn't meet my standards. So I have high standards. So I choose the standards. If I go to someone's house to eat and they may try all sorts of guilt trips, manipulation, they may say, oh, but there's only a little feta cheese. This is, free range chicken, this is this. And I just say, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. This is terrific. I hope you enjoy it. I'm choosing not to eat this, or I'll bring enough sprouts. Like I'm known to travel with sprouts, and I'll bring sprouts, or I'll bring fruit, or I'll bring something else, and I'll make that path. Now, coming back to the sprouts and the why sprouts, and I've lived exclusively on sprouts for 30-day periods or longer. And the things that happened when I did extensive sprouting was that I realized the abundant nature of these little vegetables, that initially I thought because they were so little, they were so fast to grow, they were so inexpensive that that they would be incomplete. And this is one of the greatest secrets of the universe, that sprouts are 20 to 100 times more nutrient dense than the mature vegetable counterparts. So they are not just little vegetables, they are powerhouses. Like every one of you, they are powerhouses, and they know it, because one little sprout can grow into a microgreen, into a mature plant, and then can flower, and then can fruit, and can replicate itself thousands of times over and over and over. So one of the things that sprouts taught me was the abundant nature of the universe, that we live in abundance. Like if every one of you is able to log in to this Zoom call, you are in this abundant nature. And if we want to achieve our goals, we need to have energy. And energy doesn't come from food. Energy is connecting with source. And if you connect with source, you then have the energy. And when you connect with source, you can make decisions about what you're willing to consume, who you're willing to talk to, what you're willing to do with your time. Are you going to read a book, or are you going to watch, some reality TV show? Are you going to commune with friends in the community, or are you going to, I can't even think about other things. Are you going to just sleep on the couch, right? Are you going to exercise and move your body, or are you going to sleep more, right? Because there's only so much sleep we need. And by the way, sleep is very important. I have a 16-month-old daughter, and I'm fighting for my sleep, because we co-sleep with my wife and the baby's up and she's breastfeeding, and I'm, doing everything I can to sleep, and get 6-7 hours in, and it's difficult. So I value sleep, but more than 8 hours sleep, people lying in bed because they don't want to face the world and face their challenges and face the hard things, they're not going to get more rest. It becomes a point of diminishing returns. So it's all about, you already know. Like there's everything that I'm telling you will resonate or not, but I don't think there's any rocket science here. So when it comes to eating, we need a certain amount of calories, of fiber, of amino acids, of protein, vitamin C, B vitamins. We need a certain amount in order to keep us healthy. Beyond that actually has the inverse effect. Too much of that does not help. It strains and it taxes our systems. So if we think about in nature, and we think about wild animals have access certain times to an abundance of food options, but you will never see in nature an overweight animal, no matter how much food is there. They will eat until they achieve satiety, and then they will stop and they will go do something else. but they're not going to overeat. And one of the reasons why they're not overeating, the food's not cooked, the food doesn't have added salt, added oil, added sugar, artificial colors, and flavorings. The food is there for the sustenance of what they need in order to survive and thrive. So when I was writing the Sprout book, I initially thought that sprouts were too good to be true, that this was a blessing that was imparted on me that I thought was too good to be true. And that's when I went on a quest. I went on a sprout quest, and I called Dr. Joel Furman and Dr. Joel Kahn and Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Oz and Dr. Axe and Dr. Alan Goldhammer. And I went down the list to these medical doctors. And by the way, I have a lot of respect for all doctors, whether they're plant-based or not. And some of these doctors, Mark Hyman, very accomplished, non-vegan, but likes plants. When I interviewed them and I spoke to them and I asked them to tell me, was I putting myself at risk eating sprouts? And what did they think about sprouts? Uniformly, unilaterally, completely, they all loved sprouts. And what I learned about sprouts, Jeanette, I got to have you in all my meetings. What I learned about sprouts was that not only was I serving myself, not only were they complete, but they were actually the best form of vegetables that you could have. And the miracle of the sprouting is that each and every one of you can grow your own sprouts without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer, and you can grow them in days for under $1 a serving. Like, if this is not a divine blessing of the universe, if this is not connecting you to abundant source, then I'm going to have to repeat this conversation every day until it sinks in. But this to me was the biggest wake-up call into the abundance of nature. Now, if we think about resources and energy and transportation and climate, the fact that sprouts can be grown with small amounts of water. And I realize you're all on mute, so I'm going to talk to myself as I'm talking to you, but it takes about 1,500 gallons of water to prepare 1 pound of beef. And you can grow a pound of sprouts with 1 gallon of water. 1,500th the amount of resources it takes. And instead of it taking years, it takes days. And this is one of the miracles, of the sprouts and sprouting. Now, one of the questions people get is, where do I get my protein from? And I go, that's a really good question. And I will answer that, but I want to ask you a question first. And my question to them is, where did you get that question? Why are you asking about protein? Are you like Dr. Tettey, a nutritional biochemist, nutritionist? Like, why are you so aware of protein? And the reason why is because the protein industry, which also translates into the meat industry, is a multi-hundred-billion-dollar global conglomerate, and they've planted seeds and they've published papers and they've bribed, professors to get their message out, to plant this virus into the minds that we all need protein. And I could tell you at 57 years old, and I'm very modest, I will not take my shirt off, on the Zoom call, but I am physically at my peak. I do 400, 500 push-ups in a day. I run 5K at least 4 days a week, and I'm on the phone the whole time. And people don't ask me what I'm doing because I don't even lose my breath. I'm running as if I'm walking. And I take almost all calls outside because I want to be moving. I want to be, using my body and my faculty. So I do that, and I do my pull-ups, and I carry the baby around, and I feel physically fit. I feel younger and healthier and flexible. And I think that's a direct result of the standards that I have for consumption, which are fresh fruits, vegetables, sprouts, and raw seaweeds. And the variety that I get and the stimulation that I get comes from interactions with people that are operating at the same frequency, that I'm not looking for stimulation and self-medication through salt, oil, sugar, processed food. Like, I'm aware that those are dangerous things. They are like drugs, and, they exist in the universe. So we have to love everything that's existing in the universe, but we have the power of choice. We can choose what we want to consume. We can choose when we want to consume, and we can choose whether we want to rest or whether we want to move, whether we want to be with enlightened people or we want to be with people that are suffering, and we control everything. So when I made the decision that I wasn't going to be a victim, I wasn't going to be limited by my circumstances, that I was going to take massive action, I broke out of the shackles that I was living in, changed my diet, changed my life, and now, like, I'm so aligned in my purpose that I get the opportunity to share this message, with all of you or anyone that will listen. Like, this is where I'm deriving so much joy, so much pleasure. And what I would love to do is open it up to questions, because there's a lot that I learned, and I'm sure you have questions. And so, Dr. Tettey, please, let's have some questions.
Sure. So everyone, as usual, especially for those of you who have sprouted, any question you have about the process, those of you who it has not connected with and you want to do it, but you're struggling with it, Doug Evans, the author of the Sprout book, is right here. So you can ask him any question that you'd like. But Doug, one of the issues that comes up really for a lot of people is that they'll start something like sprouting or maybe do the 30-day raw food challenge, but then there's a pull to go back to, it might not be as bad as it was, but there's a pull either towards cooked food or a pull towards maybe snack foods of some sort. How did you, in your book, you talk about going to the nightclub that night, meeting the person, the woman who introduced you to the raw foods lifestyle or the vegan lifestyle, and it seemed like it was just done for you within 2 weeks and you never looked back. But that doesn't seem to be the experience of many. And so what would you say about that, the addictive nature of the food and how to break that addiction that many people are struggling with?
I mean, part of it is, if I don't want to forget something, I try to think about how I can ensure success, right? So if I have to get up at 3 a.m. to go catch an airplane, I will set my alarm, I'll set my wife's alarm, I'll get a manual alarm clock, I'll put them in different places so that I'm setting myself up for success and for yes. When it comes to food, I would say, if we think about abundance, we can make different choices than we think about scarcity. I remember back in April 1999, I had all of this other food in my shelves, in my cabinets, under the sink, in the refrigerator. And to me, I was looking at all that value. And I remember even having, bottles of wine and Remy Martin XO and Absolute vodka in my house. And all this had value. And I remember what I paid for it, etc. And then I thought about it and I realized that I made a decision. So I took all of that food, all of that alcohol, all of those things, and I was really challenged because one part of me wanted to just destroy it, just pour it all down the drain, put it in the garbage. And then I realized other people would still eat this. And so it was a real hard decision. And I hope, our creator likes the decision that I made. But I put it all out in the street in boxes, 100%. So I had empty cabinets, empty refrigerators, and anything that didn't meet my standard wasn't there, period. And that was a good wake-up call for me. And then what I did was I stacked the deck in my favor. I would go out and I would buy the things that I liked in abundance, even if it was more expensive than I would normally like to pay or something. So I would buy 3 organic cucumbers, not 1. I would buy a whole watermelon, not a slice of the watermelon. I would buy pounds of grapes. I would buy all of the things that I loved, and then I would eat them in abundance. So in the beginning stages of my raw journey, I confess I was a major overeater because my brain hadn't registered with my microbiome yet, and I was overeating. And over time, my body continued to heal, and I was able to adjust and down regulate what I was going to eat. But if I would have started and I didn't satiate myself, literally fill myself up with abundance of these fresh, raw fruits and vegetables and seaweeds and sprouts, and I would have been hungry, in that hunger moment, I would be weak, and then I would be tempted to compromise. So I'd be tempted to compromise. So I just made sure that I always, wherever I went, I can show you, you'd think like I was a fashionista, because I have like 7 cooler bags. I got small ones, medium ones, large ones. I got them in all colors. And wherever I go out, I've got these big, I'll show you, big cooler bags. And my freezer is filled, with ice packs. And so I am always traveling and bringing my own food wherever I go. And as they say in AA or NA or any of the 12-step programs, just for today. So we don't have to plan our whole life ahead of us. It's just for today, just for this meal. And, ask, our creator for the strength to make the right decision in this moment, and then to satisfy it. So it's one meal, one bite, one day at a time is how I did it. And every temptation resisted made me stronger, gave me more confidence. Every good night's sleep, every good workout, the commitment that I had was that this body was the human transport vehicle for my soul. And that's where Dr. Tettey read, I will cherish my body, my mind, my soul, and my heart. So I knew that if I were to violate that, I'd be violating myself. I'd be violating the gift of life that was bestowed upon me. So it became very, very spiritual and metaphysical for me. And it also became a challenge. And I loved the challenge. And I knew the upside that if I successfully got through this one meal, this one day, this 1 week, this 1 year, that I'd be able to do it. And I've now done it for a quarter of a century with joy and enthusiasm. And I'm so, now it's easy peasy. There's no temptation. By the way, I still love the smell of rosemary chicken, or some of these flavors still trigger memories in my brain, but they would not even cause me to even think about compromising my integrity of what I committed to. So that's where peer groups are important, having friends. And most of my friends today are friends that I've made in the last 5 or 6 years. So after I began my new journey in the Sprouts, new things. By the way, I just want to show you, look at this beautiful sunset. I don't know if you can see that, but that's my sunset out my window.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll go back to it, but it's almost as magnificent as looking at all of you. I had slightly distracted for a second from that sunset, but I'm back. So this is the opportunity that you have to be the best version of yourself. And if you can find the why, whether it's your partner, it's your children, it's your grandchildren, it's your neighbor, it's a community, you can find the strength to make the right choices and the right decision. And like, the part of me is enthusiastic, fun-loving Doug. And when I make the decision that everything I put in my life is a life or death decision, that can be dark and scary, but it's for real. And so I want to be positive and optimistic and encourage you to find the things that you love, that you could eat, when Sumu oranges are in season, I might eat 6 of them. I love them. They're easy to peel. They're heavy. They're flavorful. And I become a master because I'm still frugal. I go to the market, when I buy my fruit, and by the way, I want you all have the ability and the options to negotiate. So if you go to the farmer's market, things are too expensive or you don't like it, you can ask and say, should I come back at the end? Because they don't want to schlep home produce at the end of the day. They want to sell it all. But in the beginning, they want to sell it for as much as they can. But at the end, last person there, I can fill up boxes of produce and the price can drop from $3 a pound to $1 a pound. Or sometimes they'll say, okay, give me $10 for this whole case, just because they don't want to carry it. So you can, you will find that when you are on purpose, the universe will conspire to support you in the mission, but you have to really, really want it and create that burning desire to be super healthy, to be committed, and to take care of your body. And Dr. Tettey, I know that was a long answer to your question.
No, but some people need a long answer because they want, it's this interesting thing to watch, especially for me, people who really want to do this. There are 103 people on this Zoom on a Monday night who could, like you said, Doug, be doing anything else, and they're here to listen to you. And so that always shows me that people want to be healthy, they want to do better, and there's this odd self-sabotage, emotional eating, all of those things that kind of get in the way. And so hearing you, everything that you say is really inspiring, and I think helps to keep people in the mindset of understanding. I think something you said that was really powerful is having a food standard. And I want to ask everyone to think about and maybe write down, and if you really want to share with all of us, what is your food standard? And maybe some of us don't even have one and never thought about it. but what are you not going to put in your body? Like, what is the standard of what you're going to eat? And I think that's really, really powerful. And when we think about the processed foods, the fried foods, the unhealthy foods, is that meeting your standard for yourself? So Doug just shared that with us, and I think that's a really powerful way to view it, especially if you're struggling. Doug, as you talk about understanding the why, can you share more really briefly about the cancer fighting properties of sprouts? Because there's some people on here who are dealing with cancer or who have cancer that runs in their family. And then also the isothiocyanates and the sulforaphane, how all of that is involved with sprouts.
Yeah, so it's very interesting that plants have defense mechanisms, and the plant defense mechanisms are to protect them from predators, predominantly insects, right? Or yeast or mold or fungus that can eat them. And so there was research, over decades that talked about cruciferous vegetables were healthy. And cruciferous vegetables had these anti-cancer properties. And Dr. Jed Fahey, who actually runs my scientific advisory board, and he's from Johns Hopkins University, he was doing the research 25 years ago of which cruciferous vegetable had the most of these anti-cancer properties. And it turns out that it was broccoli. And then his next level of research was which type of broccoli had the most of these properties. And it turns out it wasn't the variety of broccoli, it was the stage of broccoli, and the most existed within the seed. But turns out seeds are edible, but they have nature's preservative on them. So they've got enzyme inhibitors, trypsins, phytic acids, and lectins, which make a raw seed hard to digest. But if you take the broccoli seed and you soak it and then you sprout it, on day 3, you've reduced all of those protective mechanisms, and you've gone through a biological transformation of a seed into a living vegetable. And that vegetable has a finite amount. So the cruciferous family of vegetables are isothiocyanates, and broccoli in particular contains glucosinolates, and there's one specific glucosinolate called glucoraphanin that actually possesses the precursor to sulforaphane. So when you take the broccoli sprouts and you chew them and you masticate them and you mix them together, they get a biological metabolic reaction which creates sulforaphane. And sulforaphane actually creates a hermetic effect in the body. So it can actually cause stress to the body in small levels, and that stress can actually help kill the cancer cells. That stress can help create heat shock proteins in the brain. That stress can help detoxify benzene and air pollutants from the lungs. And this is all kind of the man and nature harmony in specifically with broccoli sprouts. And Dr. Tettey, I can send you some white papers, on the specific that you can share with the community, that some are from Dr. Fahey and some are from others. But basically, the other thing that was revealed was not only were the sprouts good for killing the cancer cells, they were also good for strengthening the overall immune system and the health of the body. So even if someone was doing, radiation or chemotherapy, that the sprouts could actually have a strengthening to the immune system to help combat the effects of these cancers. Now, I do not have cancer. I'm around people that do have cancer. I believe in spontaneous healing. I believe in patient heal thyself. And I encourage you all to ask a lot of questions with your treatment. And I don't know if you are aware of the story of Dr. Fada. Have any of you heard of Dr. Fada? There was the top cancer clinic in Michigan where Dr. Fada administered chemotherapy to over 535 patients that did not have cancer, because there was an insidious relationship between Medicare, the doctor's office, and the pharmaceutical companies that made it too much temptation for him to resist not taking the money at the expense of these lives. And you could just easily just research and just do your own Googling about, Michigan cancer, chemotherapy fraud. And I don't know, like right now, I live in the desert. I grew up in New York City and I lived in Manhattan. And when we saw one cockroach, we know that it didn't come from Mars, that there were more there. And so it caused me to have great suspicion about an industry where the doctors may be incentivized by the money over the healing. So there's this whole, instances of patient heal thyself and creating an environment where you could be strong. And look, this happened during and I'm careful, I hope the NSA isn't eavesdropping on our Zoom call, but during the last few years, when the administration was forcing lockdowns, forcing, shots and boosting, etc., they could have been encouraging healthier eating, more movement outside, and breath work. And instead, they put people in an environment where they were masked and locked down and injected with major threats. So, and I don't know much about the details. All I can say is that beyond age, which was a major factor or criteria in morbidity, the second factor was obesity. So by reversing your obesity, you are reducing your risk. And I would say, COVID was one thing, but almost all things, by being overweight, you increase your risk of falling, you increase your risk of arthritis, you increase your risk of hypertension, high blood pressure, heart disease, and the like. So one of the goals would be to get to your perfect weight. Now, the pharmaceutical industry has a solution for that. It's called Ozempic and semaglutide, and they'll give you a shot and you'll form a brick in your stomach, and you will just not want to eat because you're just so uninterested in food. Or you could do it a healthy way by eating fruits, vegetables, sprouts, and seaweed.
Awesome.
I'm done with that portion of my sermon, Dr. Tettey.
All right, so we're gonna go into the speed round because I know that you're traveling tomorrow, so we don't want to keep you too long. And so one of the next questions, is there any seed that you can't sprout?
Larger legumes like kidney beans and other large basically have so so much of the lectins and the plant inhibitors, they haven't been optimized for sprouting. I would say the common seeds for sprouting would be alfalfa, radish, clover, broccoli, chia, fenugreek, all sorts of lentils, all sorts of peas. And that should give you enough variety to get started on your sprouting journey.
Okay. And in the book, you talk about the fact that you like radish sprouts more than broccoli sprouts. Can you speak briefly about why?
Well, I love all sprouts. I feel like they're all my children. The radish sprouts I like because of the flavor profile has a real kick to them. And even a few of them can spice up and liven up any dish. So I'm eating, like alfalfa sprouts, are super nutritious, but they're very low in flavor. And broccoli sprouts, can be pungent or they can be mild, and the variety. The radish sprouts add a kick that's almost like wasabi, which is also another member of the cruciferous family that is challenging to eat, but then it almost makes you want to eat more. So I'm looking for things that make you want to eat more, but not too much, because if you eat too much, they'll tell you, okay, stop, Dr. Tettey, stop. So they'll cause you to tap out.
Okay. Do sprouts contain all the vitamins and nutrients that the body needs?
As far as I know, everything but vitamin B12 can be achieved through a sprout-based diet.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for someone who is allergic to lentil sprouts? It makes that person's throat itch. Is it okay to steam them?
I believe steaming vegetables and steaming like lentils are fine. I think that I would experiment with other sprouts like soy or peas if the lentils have a hard time. I would also experiment with what day they were consuming the lentils. So as the lentils grow into the later days, they may change the profile. So I would experiment in different stages.
If there's someone who prefers microgreens to sprouts, is there a dramatic or drastic difference in the nutrition between a microgreen and a sprout?
The primary difference is that the microgreen you're cutting above the fold, so you're eating the shoot and the leaves. The sprouts, you're eating the entire living organism, the root, the shoot, the endosperm, the embryo. So you're getting a lot more bang for the buck with the sprouts, and the sprouts can grow, in a glass jar. So you could be getting many more, and the sprouts are growing faster. So typically microgreens are more dollars per ounce, more cost per ounce with actually less yield and less consumption. But I eat microgreens, and if someone serves me microgreens, they're on my checklist, but they're a little harder to grow and they take twice as much time.
Okay, next person says, it would be helpful to hear the steps in sprouting in the simplest form. I've tried a few times, not so successfully.
I would encourage you to sign up. I'm going to put it in the chat right now for my free sprouting masterclass on commune. I will put it in there.
Okay, and I'll email it to everyone as well. So
yeah, so I would recommend take the free course, and I go into great details with how to sprout in there.
okay, and is cooked food unhealthy?
I would say depends how you cook it. Cooked carbohydrates like potato chips and things or breads that are cooked at high temperatures actually can form the carcinogen called acrylamide. And when you cook the food, the first thing that happens is the natural water content, gets evaporated and expressed out. And so there's a lot of ways to take perfectly good food and potentially damage it and risk the nutrition profile. I would recommend, if someone likes cooked food, I would steam the vegetables al dente and I would eat them. I would not recommend to anyone to consume any animal products whatsoever: meat, chicken, fish, dairy, eggs, any of those things. I don't feel them as being, designed for human consumption.
Okay. This question states that person has been sprouting, but and there's two questions similar to this. When they put the sprouts in the fridge, it seems to change them a lot. And so the person is keeping them on the counter and washing them daily. The question is, are they still vital or perhaps nutritious if they're kept on the counter for a week with daily washing?
Yeah, I think a week is while they're still growing. I think if you want to store them in the refrigerator, you should rinse them off, spin dry in a salad spinner, and they make a salad spinner, for herbs. It's a little finer of a screen, and then let them sit, outside of the spinner, just in the basket, so they dry off a little bit. And then when you store them in the refrigerator, make sure the container is not airtight. The sprouts are alive and they still need to breathe. So if you cut off the oxygen, they will not be happy.
Okay, and the next question. Today I learned about the sprouting machine. What are your thoughts about it?
The sprouting, this is my little, sprouting device. And, I designed this specifically for sprouting. So, the jar is big, so it's easy to, get your hand in. The threads are on the outside, so when you drain it, all of the water comes out. And this filter is stainless steel, so it's dishwasher safe. It's very easy to clean. And so everything that's in the sprouter that's touching the seeds is stainless steel and glass. So that's the standard. And then the stand is recycled plastic, so it can, it was ethically made, and it fits nice on the countertop. And then also, it's easy to grip. So the sprouting kit was there, but as you know, I've been recommending people sprouting with mason jars, with cheesecloth, with any lid. So you can sprout with so many things. There's even a chapter in my book called Junkyard Dog, where I took things out of my recycling bin and under the sink and used them for sprouting.
Okay, and last couple of questions. In terms of seeds, person is asking that when they buy seeds from like a regular supermarket or seeds they already had in their pantry, they don't sprout as well as when they purchase organic ones from a place that specializes in selling sprouting seeds. Should people buy their sprouting seeds from specific places?
I think it's a level of quality that the sprouting seeds are specifically harvested, handled for sprouting, where the other seeds may, they may have been sitting in a warehouse for years, non-refrigerated, non-compromised, or non-handled carefully. So the sprouting seeds, the organic sprouting seeds, are specifically grown for sprouting, harvested for sprouting, handled for sprouting, tested for high germination rate, where every batch they even take the seeds and they grow a crop, they take the wastewater from a crop and they send it to the lab to check for microbial content or for pathogens, where that's a more reliable fashion. If you're going to plant them in the soil, it doesn't matter as much because in the soil, things will naturally compost. But if you have seeds that don't germinate in the jar, then they are going to be rotting. And it's that old expression about one rotten apple can ruin a whole bunch. So you really want to have the highest germination seeds and sprouts going on during your sprouting cycle.
Okay, and last two questions. First one, what do you think about dehydrating fruits?
I like fresh, right? I really like fresh. I think fresh is easier to chew, easier to digest. I think dehydrated fruit is much better than any sort of processed candy. Homemade dehydrated fruit without sulfates and preservatives is probably okay in very small quantities. I would recommend, if you dehydrate it for storage purposes prior to consumption, you rehydrate it and let it soak in water and rehydrate.
Okay, last question. Are collard greens harmful, or can collard greens be harmful?
I think that if someone has a specific collard green allergy, then they should avoid them. In general, the benefits of green leafy vegetables outweigh the potential concerns of oxalates or anti-nutrients or whatever propaganda might be trying to sabotage these beautiful green plants.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I did skip someone's question. The question was, can you eat too many sprouts in a day, or how many sprouts should you eat in a day to get the full nutritional benefit?
I would suggest that you eat as many sprouts as you'd like to eat until you're no longer hungry or till you are full. And that sprouts are just vegetables and they're very nutritious. And if you are not adding salt, oil, or sugar, your body will help regulate how many to eat and when to eat.
Okay, great. So Doug, now I'm going to put the Sprouting Company on the screen. I'm going to share it, and then you can talk us through what we're looking at. So this is Doug's new project called the Sprouting Company. And Sister Alexis, I think he'll answer your question through this. Doug, are you seeing the Sprouting Company on the
I'm
screen?
seeing it. Yeah,
Okay.
basically, that's what I showed you in real time. That's the sprouting kit. And what I wanted to do, so many people were sprouting using iPad stands and using dish holders and bowls and dish racks, that I felt that the sprouts were important enough to be emblematic and have their own space and represent beauty. So that's what that is on the upper picture. And then basically, you can all download the Sprouting app on the right. It's free, and it will help you and be your little sprouting coach. So it's a free app that helps with the sprouting. Whether you buy our seeds or you use our jar or not, it will be a helpful tool to help guide you with your sprouting. It will give you reminders and notifications and help guide you in how many seeds to put in for what yield. And then in the middle, you're seeing the seeds. So all of these seeds that you're seeing now are organic seeds in different formulations. And then also, to make it easy, there's some prepackaged kits that people are using for gifts. And this is if you want to study up on the quick cheat sheet of the sprouts, all the benefits of fast growing, delicious, nutrient dense, and affordable.
And that's the app.
And that's the app. So it's really, really simple. And like I said, my goal is to help people sprout, globally. And I just felt like there hadn't been any major improvements in sprouting gear in hundreds of years. So I thought it would be a good thing to invest, make something that would make it more accessible for people to sprout better.
Yep, and you guys are gonna be jealous, but Doug sent me one. So this is what it looks like, and it's amazing. And then I got some sprouts as well. And it comes in such beautiful packaging, and it's very sturdy. And so the last thing that we are gonna do tonight, Doug, is we are gonna pick the winner. And I hope that you don't have a bias for Miss Jeanette, since she has been rooting for you all night. And now that I'm thinking about it, Ambassador Jeanette, I feel like you've been trying to get favor from Doug with all of your rooting and clapping. We have Miss Yeka and I just put Miss Andrea on the screen. And what we are going to ask from each of you. So I sent out an announcement last week, and this is why everyone should check their email if you don't know what's going on. I sent an announcement last week saying that we are going to pick our HeartSmarts Sprouting Champion for 2023, and you all were asked to nominate yourselves. And I asked you to tell me, how has sprouting impacted your life? How have you shared sprouting in your community? And how has it improved your health? And so we are going to start with Ambassador Jeanette, and each of you are going to take 30 seconds and tell me and Doug and everybody here why you should be the 2023 HeartSmarts Sprouts Unleashed champion. So we'll start with you, Ambassador Jeanette.
Good evening, Doug Evans. So nice to have you on with us. You have been an inspiration to me ever since I read the book. I've been sprouting every week. I eat sprouts all the time, morning, noon, and night. I even put the I just eat sprouts all the time. So I've been sharing how to sprout with my church members, and some of them are sprouting also. But you know what? I'm not the only one in my house that is benefiting. The water from the sprouts I feed to my plants. My plants love it. They're so green and so big. People ask me, what kind of water do you use? And I tell them the sprout water. So thank you so much. You have really made a difference in my life, and I just love sprouts.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you, Ambassador Jeanette. Next, we will go to Miss Andrea. So you can come off mute, 30 seconds.
Dr. Terry, you know I don't do nothing in social.
That's why I repeated it, 30 seconds.
Okay, so for me, I am just thankful for this opportunity, because at the end of the day, I only knew, like Doug says, sprout as garnish before. I didn't know anything about it. And since we were introduced to it, I embraced it. I shared it with everybody in my community. I would make enough that I could send to people. My sister-in-law come and collect sprouts from me. I take, and introduce it to people when I'm making so for our Thanksgiving, I made the biggest rainbow tray, and sprouts were all down the middle of my tray. I have been embracing it, and I've tried over 15 different seeds since I started. And that's something that I felt is really excited. I love it. Thank you so much, Doug.
Wow.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have one more, Doug, Miss Yeka.
Okay.
Good evening, good evening. So I just wanted to share that when I started sprouting, I did not know anything. I was completely afraid, and going through the program this summer, I realized that I love sprouts.
Yes.
So, and I started sharing sprouts with my family. I started sharing it one of the things I wrote about real quickly was we had a church annual church picnic, and you bring food for yourself, and you bring food to share. And I took sprouts, and I was going around to everybody, and I was sharing sprouts with my church community, and they were very, very interested. And I got to share all of the benefits and share the book.
Yes.
So I appreciate the sprout journey. I am continuing to sprout. I love to sprout, and I love Doug Evans. Thank you.
Wow, that last part, we got to cross that out, that last part that she added in there.
Well, I mean,
So,
no, well, because for introducing me to sprouts.
I'll take the love, Dr. Tettey.
we just don't want any undue influence here in the decision. And so, Doug, I am not even going to put you on the spot to do that. They are all winners, and all of you are going to get a sprouting kit sent to you from HeartSmart. So you are going to get that shiny sprouting kit that you just saw on the
Thank
screen.
you.
And
Oh,
you all
thank
are
you.
amazing.
Wow.
And it's just to see how they've embraced it, Doug. And sometimes I
Oh, my
tag you in the
goodness.
pictures on Instagram and stuff like that, because they just
Thank-
really have made it a part of their lives. And it
Yes.
makes you want to sprout just watching them and how much they love doing it. So
congratulations
congratulations to all three of you. You are the 2023 Sprouts Unleashed
Yay.
HeartSmarts Sprouting
Yeah.
Champions. When we take everyone off mute, we'll be clapping for this as well. So congratulations, Ambassador Jeanette, Miss
Oh,
Andrea,
thank
and
you.
Miss Yeka. So
Thank
awesome.
Thank
Congratulations to all of you. For the
Oh,
rest
thank
of
you.
you,
We're winners. We're winners.
yes. And for
She's
the
been
rest
my
of you,
inspiration anyway, Miss Yaka
We're
has
winners.
been. Thank you. Love you, Miss Jeanette.
Love you too.
all right.
Yes,
All right.
and I
So
will be putting my
baby.
sprout water in my plants.
Yes. Yes.
okay,
They
everyone.
lo-
Doug has a flight to catch in the morning. So
Okay.
thank you, everybody. And for the rest of you, there is a code in the chat. I put a link in there. And so Doug is giving us 10% off for the sprouting company. So if you go on there and if there's something that you'd like to purchase on there, you can use the code, and I'll send it through email as well. And so as we start to close today,
Dr.
ahead.
Tettey,
yes.
Dr. Tettey, I'm going to talk to the other management there. I think 10% feels light. I'm going to tell them make the code 20% just to make it more accessible for the HeartSmart community. So
Awesome.
I'll take care of that immediately. So just wait 5 minutes or so before you order so that you get the appropriate savings.
Wonderful. Well, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone. That's awesome. You all can put that on your wish list for Christmas. And so as we close, Doug, I just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to thank you for all the inspiration that you've given us, you've given me. Everyone asked me, like, am I really this excited when I meet all of you? Yes, I am. And you all are my heroes. You inspire me, and to get to know you and talk to you and all of this. And you're just a really nice person. And I think that's just awesome. And you just have this passion for helping people and educating people. And I'm so honored that you've joined us in the HeartSmarts community. Next Tuesday is my birthday, but this is the best gift I could have asked for, in addition to the HeartSmarts community and family and all the love that I have for all of you. So thank you, everybody, for your support this year, for joining us, and for everything. And we will be back in January. This week, I should say, we're going to do Doug's commune course. So we're all going to do it together for the rest of the week. That's how we're going to close out 2023. So that should be really cool. And then January, we will be launching the 30 days of sprouting challenge. And so that should be awesome as well. So Doug, for every speaker that we have, I always ask them, what are 3 points that you'd like to leave with us as we close the session tonight?
I would say number one, that you are the master of your fate and that you can raise your standards. You can give and share more love, and you can enjoy life. Like this life is a blessing, and that you can enjoy your life on this earth.
Excellent. Well, for the last time for this year, I'm just going to spotlight myself again. We're going to ask everyone to unmute, and you all can thank Doug. You can congratulate the winners. You can share anything you'd like. I hope you all learned something this year. I hope that you take what you've learned to 2024 that will do greater, bigger, and better things. And I'm so proud of you. I love you all. Happy holidays. Stay safe, stay healthy, and you can come off mute now. Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Doug.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Dr.
much,
Teddy.
Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Congratulations, ladies.
Congratulations to the winners.
Appreciated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy year. Happy year to everyone.
Happy birthday to you.
Rock the
Queen.
world with
I'll
music.
send you all the links from tonight so you don't have to worry about it.
Birthday, Dr.
you.
Great night, everyone.
Congratulations to all the
Happy
winners.
birthday.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
birthday.
God bless you.
So
All
much.
right, let me go.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot. Thank you.